Thanks for having me, Nick. Thank you for everyone that's here. I'll talk a little bit about, I'll basically go through the story, how the company came to be. I'll talk about the good. I'll talk about the bad. The bad is always more interesting than the good. I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm still learning every single day. So it's great to be in front of you guys tonight. So what is Tiesta Tea? Well, at Tiesta Tea, we believe that every single person in the world should be able to find a cup of tea that they enjoy. And that's not so easy sometimes. And the reason why we found that it was difficult was tea can be confusing. Tea comes from all different regions, all around the world. You have ingredients that people can't pronounce. You have tea shops, all around the country that, you walk in, it can be a little intimidating. What we do is we take the mystery out of tea. We have 5 lines of tea to really make it simple for anyone to find what they're looking for on any given day. So we have Energizer teas, Slenderizer teas, Immunity, Relaxer, and Eternity. Started the company a couple years ago. Now we're in about 2,500 stores nationwide. It's been definitely a long road, but one that's been a great experience, and hopefully I can share some of those experiences with you today. So anyway, like Nick said, basically started the company out of my dorm room. The idea came from a study abroad trip I took in '09. I studied in Milan. My best friend and business partner, Patrick, he studied in Paris. We met up in Prague. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to Prague. Beautiful city, unbelievable experience. Definitely take a trip out there if you can. But the unique thing about Prague is there's a lot of really unique tea houses out there. And so you sit down, you have a cup of tea, you can smoke some hookah, do whatever. And Prague's a real kind of high energy city, so it was kind of a way to check out for a little bit, relax, before you went out for the next beer. And so anyway, noticed some of these teas in the Czech Republic, did a little more traveling around Eastern Europe, and really discovered that there were teas that you just couldn't find in the United States. So came back, started talking to some professors, friends. All my friends thought I was absolutely insane. I mean, you can't imagine. When you tell somebody that you're starting a tea company, people are like, wait, you're a guy? You're starting a tea company? Like, isn't there enough tea out there? And I would try my best to explain that this was different, and really wouldn't get anywhere. But I talked to a professor of mine. This is my senior year of college at U of I in Champaign, and he said, go ahead and do it. And initially, I wanted to start a cafe. So I pitched that idea around a little bit, started talking to some more teachers, and I got enrolled in a program called Illinois Launch. It's a great program at the U of I. Basically gives funding to entrepreneurs, gets them started, gets them office space. So anyway, we enrolled in the program. They let us in. We shot like a quick video in like 48 hours and rushed through the application, got it in. We're like, all right, we're good. We're good to go. So we get there the first day. And the first day you had to do an investment pitch. And there was, probably about 30, 40 investors. And here we are, we're trying to explain this tea concept. And we had nothing at that point. It was literally, we wanted to build a cafe in Champaign. And again, everyone thought we were insane. And all the investors are like, guys, you're not going to get any money with this concept. I said, all right, well, we're going to do what we can. We really care about this concept. So, we changed things a little bit. We decided, it'd be better off to sell to other stores, kind of get customers, get some feedback. And so we started doing that. We got out and did the farmers markets in Urbana. I don't know if you guys have been down Champaign in the dead heat of summer. It is hot, and it's real hot, but it's perfect for iced tea. So we'd get out there. We would start. I'll never forget it. We signed up for the farmers market. They're like, you got to brew your tea in a commercial kitchen. We're like, oh God, this is going to be brutal. So what we did, we're going around to different restaurants in Champaign, knocking on doors like, hey, can we brew tea in your restaurant from like midnight to 2 a.m. on Friday night? And they're like, not a chance, guys. So we're kind of stuck. I found a guy, like a hot dog stand down the street, and I'm like, hey, you mind if we use your kitchen? Public health department's going to come by. I slipped him $40. I said, can you just be there, show up, look good, and we'll do this thing. Well, sure enough, we passed the inspection. we then proceeded to brew the tea the rest of the summer in my apartment. So we kind of went around the rules there, but you got to do what you got to do. It was a lot more convenient that way. So, you know, we got some customer feedback, you know, started getting some reactions from people in Champaign. Everything was positive. We weren't in any stores yet, but we got good reaction from our customers. Well, a little bit later, a couple weeks later, we were again pitching to investors. This program, you were always pitching to investors. And I always hated it, but it taught me one thing. It taught me how to present an idea. And so as time went on, we got better and better at presenting this idea. That's when we developed the branding, the Energizer, Slenderizer, you know, just to try and find a way to differentiate ourselves. And at one of our investment pitches, we had Jimmy John Leotold, the guy who started Jimmy John's Gourmet Sandwiches. Who here has had Jimmy John's? Raise your hand. All right, we got a good group. Well, Jimmy is, he's a genius, real smart guy, but he started from scratch. He started with 25 grand in his pocket. He started by delivering sandwiches to dorms at Eastern Illinois. So, I mean, you can only imagine. That's really hustling. I mean, more so than we were. And so, after he pitched, he gave us his card. We thought nothing of it. We're like, all right, we're never going to talk to this guy again. But it was cool to meet him. Sure enough, 7 a.m. the next day, he gives us a call. And I was sleeping. At the time, young entrepreneur, 21 years old, we probably went out the night before. And here I am, you know, I see a call from Jimmy John, missed call from Jimmy John. I'm like, oh man. So I give him a call back. He's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And we're like, we're just getting up. And he's like, can you be in my office at 1 o'clock? We're like, yeah, of course. So me and my business partner, Patrick, we were living together at the time, literally just freaking the fuck out. I mean, going crazy and not knowing what to think. You know, we're like, is Jimmy John going to buy our company? Is he going to carry our tea? Is he going to slap us across the face? We don't know. So we go in there, and Jimmy sits us down, and he just goes off. Like, goes on a half-hour tangent about how he started his business. You know, he told us how much he appreciated our hustle, but then told us about 20 things we were doing wrong. Everything from our logo, to our packaging, to our design, to some of our concepts, and basically tore us apart. And so afterwards, he's like, you know what, I really like you guys. He's like, I'm not going to carry your tea. I'm not going to give you money. And you know, Patrick and I look at each other like, what the hell are we here for? Like, you know, it's nice to be here, but that's what we thought we were there for. So sure enough, it was a ridiculous story. He brings us a sheet of logos, and he goes, guys, he's like, your logo sucks. He's like, pick one. And there was like a sheet of about 15 logos, all beautifully designed. And there was one that was bigger than the rest, which probably meant that was the one he liked the most. And we're like, yeah, that one's good. Tiesta Tea, and it's actually our current logo. So we picked the logo, and then he's like, oh, I want you to meet my design team. So we go over, we meet his graphic designer, and he's the guy that does like Jimmy John's menus and anything that you see, the wrapper, the stickers, all that good stuff. And we sat down with him, and he basically helped us out with our first product design. So we sell our product primarily in tins and pouches that sit on a retail shelf. And so he helped us with our first tin product, which was pretty cool. So we kind of got incubated by Jimmy John that summer. So every week, we'd go in and we'd sit down with Jimmy John's creative team, the head of marketing, the creative director, the head of web design. And I mean, these are people that are obviously pretty well skilled, but they, you know, the nice thing about Jimmy is he has a young brand, and that's what we were going for. So worked the entire summer with Jimmy. You know, the end of the summer came, we finally launched our product. We launched in like 3 stores in Champaign. We were so pumped. The local news did a story on us. We're like, all right, great, you know, we're on our way. Well, so time went on in Champaign, and you know, there's not a whole lot down there, and we kind of hit a limit. We hit a roadblock, and we're like, well, you know, there's only so many stores in the area, and there's only so much you can do over the phone. So we were kind of stuck. So about 4 months after that, it was about winter of 2011, we made the decision. We're like, we got to move to Chicago. We got to see what the market's like here. You know, we have no idea what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. So, you know, we started looking for apartments. Actually, we worked at our parents' house for about 3 weeks and went insane. Like, you know, I'd be working at the kitchen table. My parents would come home. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, you ready for dinner?" I'm like, "No, I'm still working. Like, get out of my way." So, you know, after a couple weeks, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I got to move out, find a place. We found a place in Wrigleyville, and we made it the Tiesta Tea office. So to this day, on some of the packaging, you'll see our 1147 West Addison, our old address. And so that's kind of where the company grew. And so that winter was like, I don't know if you guys remember it, a couple years back, the coldest winter ever. And we needed to make some money. I mean, we were literally, rent was cheap for us, but I mean, you know, I had no other money. I had no savings from college. So I'm sitting there like, all right, well, you know, we got to make money. And we have tea, so we can sell tea, make money, and pay for rent. So, you know, we're going around literally all day, all night to all these little cafes, restaurants, in all these different neighborhoods in Chicago. And, you know, some of them would be receptive. Some of them picked the product up. Most of them were like, get the hell out of here. We already have tea. Haven't you heard of intelligentsia? You know, all that good stuff. So, you know, little did we know that it was going to be a little bit harder than we thought to launch this business. But, you know, we persevered. We kept going. Later that year, we hired our first round of interns. And I'll never forget this experience. I really wish I had pictures. At that time, it was 2 of us, and then we hired 2 more people. It was like a friend and then a friend of a friend. They moved into the house, so we all 4 lived together. If you guys have ever seen the movie The Social Network, it was literally just like that. We had 4 bedrooms. Each person had their own bedroom. We had an office downstairs, and we would work all day, all night. And so that summer, we hired interns from the U of I. And so not only did we have the 4 of us living there, but we'd have interns literally coming to our house every single day, working on the kitchen table. My roommate had a bunch of cats. We had cats running around. I mean, it was ridiculous. To this day, I wonder how these interns felt when they walked in our office. But we made it work. So that summer, we got our first major distributor, which is great. Started getting into some small chains. Started to get some traction. I think it was around that time where we ran out of money for the second time. So any business, as some of you may know, cash is going to be pretty tight. Well, cash was tight for us all the time, always is. And so we that summer, again, we hit like July and August, which are notoriously awful for tea sales. We were just straight out of money, and we knew a couple investors pretty well. But they didn't have a whole lot of money, but they believed in us. And so one of them lent us like 10 grand, and then the other lent us 25. And then we ran out of that money, and then they got another 25. And so when we took that second $25,000, they're like, guys, what are you going to do with this money? And well, we're like, well, maybe we could do some trade shows. We just got to get out there. We got to push sales. We got to get into more stores. And so we sat down with a consultant of ours, and he's like, guys, how'd you get your business? Like, how have you built up your business thus far? And we're like, well, we've pretty much just gone door to door and, selling tea. And he's like, well, why don't you do that? Why don't you continue to do that? And we're like, yeah, why not? So I called up a buddy of mine, actually one of Nick's friends too. Called him up. He was living in New York at the time, and I'm like, hey man, I think we're going to come out to New York and go door to door for a little while. You mind if we crash at your place for a little bit? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, I'm actually going to be out of town though, but like you can use my place, no problem. Like it'll be empty. It's a big place. You guys can have it. And we're like, oh my God, this is incredible. So, we fly to New York, and we had a plan that we were going to do 500. We were going to hit up 500 coffee shops in 20 days in 4 or 6 cities, something like that. So New York was our first. Well, New York is the hardest city to sell anything. And the reason why that is you know, I don't mean to offend anyone that's from New York. People are a little bit more coarse there. It's not, you know, it's not the Midwestern feel. So it was difficult. We walked in our first store, and you know, a lot of like bagel shops in New York are called cafes. So we would literally, Patrick would drive, and I'd be on my iPad just searching on Yelp, and I'd go around and be like, all right, here's a cafe, here's a cafe. He would pull over the car, I'd run out, I'd have samples in my hand, a couple sheets of paper, run over to the shop, run in. The first shop we went into, I'll never forget it. These guys had a couple boxes of Lipton. It was like, you know, a little bodega pretty much, but it was called the cafe, and we literally got chased out of it. So here we are running around. We did that for about 12 days. Then we did a trade show. We drove to Philadelphia, did a trade show, did it all over again. Went back home for a couple days, then went to Seattle and Vancouver and did the same exact thing. So over like 24 days, we hit up our 500 stores. Needless to say, we quadrupled our sales that month, and we never looked back. It was a pretty humbling experience, but very worthwhile. You know, later that year, we raised some more investment funding. We started getting into more mass distribution. We got in our first chain around this time last year called Hannaford out in the East Coast. And this year, we raised our Series A round of funding for about $1 million. And you know, to date, we're in about 2,500 stores. You can find us around here, Mariano's, Sunset Foods. We haven't cracked Jewel yet, or Dominic's, sorry. Whole Foods, we're still working on, but we're in a couple. You know, right now, it's a crazy time for us. We're literally flying all over the place. Basically, we're doing the same road show that we did 2 years ago, except we're doing it with a little bit more money in our pockets, and you know, not going to bodegas, but actually going to like Whole Foods headquarters and stuff, which is pretty cool. But you know, if there's anything that I hope to have you guys get out of this, is that, you know, really it's all about passion, guys. It really is. You know, we believed in ourselves from day one. People thought we were nuts, and all we did was we found people that believed in us and said, hey, hop on the train. Whether it was an employee, an investor, an intern, whatever it was, we just wanted people who believed in us. And to this day, we still thrive on just the belief that we can make something bigger. And you know, I hope you guys all have that in you in some way, shape, or form, because all you really need is passion and drive. Everything else will take care of themselves. I can't tell you how many struggles we've had over the course of years. We still have struggles today, but you get through every single one of them. When you want to just put your head down and you're like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this anymore, just keep going. You have to keep going. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you believe in yourself, you will make it work.
All right.
Thanks, guys.